Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast. This is the show that dives into the big question, what's in it for me, for both the business and its customers? On each episode, we sit down with a business owner or leader to uncover their why, their values, and the stories that drive them to grow their business. Joining me today on the Growing Your Business podcast is my new friend, Scott Smith with Joshua Tree Experts. Scott, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here. I want to know, what is Joshua Tree Experts?
Joshua Tree Experts is a full professional tree care company. We want to focus on the preservation of trees. We do get called out for removals every once in a while, but most often than not, I'm going to try to talk somebody out of it if it's possible, even if it's 50, 60%. But so like I say, tree care. So it's tree pruning, it's proper nutrients, it's proper disease management, pest management, everything we can to make sure our canopy of the entire community stays green.
Would you say that's what sets you apart from other people in your industry and space?
I think it's part of it. There's others out there that do preserve, that are going to treat trees right. But there are a lot out there that are knocking on doors or two chucks in a truck or companies that are just coming out and stripping trees clean and just not pruning for the health of a tree. We take a different approach. A lot of times we're just pruning it different than most people are used to. It's just a different way of thinking about how do we make sure that we're pruning trees for the longevity of the tree and the value of the property, but also just making sure that we're also putting the right nutrients at the right time of year and across the board. So there are others out there that do the same thing or similar types of things. But as a whole, I think that we put a lot of care and love into the work that we do.
You didn't just wake up one day and I'm Scott and I do tree stuff, right? I mean, you were on a journey. Where were you before and where are you now?
Sure. I mean, I'll go back to 10 years old. Yeah. If you want the whole journey.
Why not? Yeah.
Let's real quickly though. I mean, I grew up outside, camping, backpacking, Boy Scouts, Eagle Scout. I spent so much time outside.
Yeah.
And I think it took me 30 more years to realize how much I kind of loved being outside and why it was. And it was the value of what everything that brings. And so over the first 15, 20 years of my career after college, I'm like, well, I've got to go get a corporate job. I've got to go sit behind a computer. I've got to work my way up the corporate ladder. I've got to get that next promotion, get that next raise. I've got to do, that's what I'm supposed to do. I went to college. I got my marketing degree. I did all those things. I worked for clients like Kellogg and Verizon Wireless and Kimberly-Clark and Subway. And I worked at FanDuel. I did a lot of things building digital experiences and building customer experiences. How do I make the experience great for the customer from the beginning to the end, from the time that you learn about the brand to the time that you buy something to the time that you become a loyal advocate of the customer. And I started to think about how does that come into play for, simpler businesses, trades or blue collar businesses or things like that, because I think that we run into that a lot when we're getting home services taken care of and it's not a great experience. And so when it came down to it, I wanted to build a business. I wanted to build a business that made people's lives better. It made their homes nicer. It made their outdoor living experiences better. And how do I bring all of that together with a fantastic customer experience from the very beginning to the end? And I looked at a lot of different options. I looked at starting my own thing. I looked at buying existing businesses, but I ran into Joshua Tree Experts, and they have a family first culture. They love their customers. They care for their customers. They are the rock stars in the green industry. You transitioned to we are. Yeah. And that's what sold me.
They are, but you are too now.
Yeah. And, they've been so supportive throughout the entire transition. We've launched quickly. We are very successful. We've got backlog. We are doing fantastic work. I'm hiring experts. I've got 2 ISA certified arborists, one in the tree and one out doing sales. And then the rest of the guys are learning and we're cross training and everything. So I'm going a little bit deeper into all right, how do I take what I was sold and even continue to expand on what we can bring to the table and bring to this area?
That's excellent. Yeah. So you're, by all standards, you feel like you're a success story in and of yourself by buying this, because how long have you owned this franchise?
Since June of 25. So okay. I guess it's about 9 months now.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And how has it been?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and every day is something new. And it's, you're going to have the roller coaster ride of highs and lows, but you got to make sure you're the steady keel, that even keel all the way through it.
Yeah.
We have weather, we have ice, we got storms, we got, we have people getting sick, or, whatever it is, you're dealing with it all. And like, this is my first time owning a business, but it's not my first time leading teams. And so it's not my first time selling. It's not my first time, dealing with hard customers or easy customers or whatever. But like, it's all about just kind of rolling with the punches and staying even keeled, learning from mistakes. One of our core values for our location is embrace the learning curve.
Yeah.
And we talk about it almost every day. What did you learn yesterday? And I talk about what I learned yesterday. My crew talks about what they learned yesterday. And as long as we have learned from either a mistake or somebody taught you something or whatever it is, I think that goes into the entire business. And so when you say are you a success story, I don't say that yet, but like I'm well on my way there because I'm learning how to become success.
Well, there's a success story built into your customers. So we love to hear somebody reached out to you, someone picked up the phone, they found you through your website, we'll talk about that later, and said, I've got X problem. Let's talk about solving that problem for somebody.
I guess one example specifically, we got a call back a couple of weeks ago, and most people in the trades hate callbacks, but I loved this one. She had called us out in last October, and she said, I think my tree's dead. I need you to remove it. I look at it, and I question whether she's right or not. And I say, give us a chance. I think that we got a 50-50 chance of turning this tree around. I think it's got some life left in it. We did the proper nutrients. We took care of some pests that it had. This is a younger tree. This is probably a 5-6-year-old tree, younger, not yet established neighborhood. And we did all those things. She called me back 2 weeks later and said, Scott, I need to schedule pruning for this tree that I thought was dead. I've got green leaves, I got buds, and like she's grinning ear to ear whenever I show up to the door that next Monday. And so now so that's whenever I'm talking about tree preservation. Yeah. Now we're preserving a tree that is going to keep that neighborhood growing and keep that canopy going. Because if she had to replace that tree, it's another 5 years before you got to get it to where it was. And that's a cost of removal. That's a cost of replacement. That's a cost of time. And so that success story of making a customer happy, the tree is now living, she saved money, and now we're going to continue to make it even better as it continues to age. And not even a week later, got another call from another lady. She's like, I think she thought her tree was dead last year. We fixed it up. And she was like, I just got home from my walk with my dog, and my tree is the only tree in the neighborhood that's got green leaves on it. And this is a big neighborhood out in Frisco Lakes. And like, it's perfect. And it's like, and now we're going to take care of her tree. And she was so happy.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this. Ready to amplify your brand's voice? At Blue Mike Studios, we transform your ideas into captivating podcasts and videos. Whether you're launching your own show or guest starring on ours, we've got you covered. From recording and editing to social media promotion. With state-of-the-art 4K video and crystal clear audio, your content will shine. We offer guest packages on our podcasts and offer segments from the show for you to share. Or let us help you build your own branded podcast with custom strategy, branding, and full production support. Visit BlueMikeStudios.com today and let your voice be heard. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles. What would you say is your favorite thing about what you do? It's You wake up in the morning, you stretch and say, today's going to be that kind of day. What is that kind of day for you?
I mean, those calls are great. Yeah, you hear somebody say, "Thank you so much for taking care of my tree." It's working with customers that understand the value that the trees provide to their property, to the entire community, to the entire world. I mean, like this is the oxygen of us, of like what we breathe is created by trees and plants and everything else like that. If we didn't have these, we wouldn't have anything. And so people that understand that value and understand the value of what we bring versus maybe less expensive people or less costly people, like because we're going to approach the tree differently and they understand the difference.
Yeah.
And so being able to work with those types of customers and be able to stand in the front yard and talk to people about their trees for 30 minutes, I can geek out about it every once in a while. And I stop myself in the middle of talking with those customers like, I'm sorry, I'm geeking out. I just went on a full diatribe of like a full teaching session. And they're like, no, it's okay. That was awesome. I'm glad I learned that, because now there's some things that they can do themselves to make sure that their trees stay healthy. And so that's one of the things that I love doing is educating. Now I'm creating content and putting that on my Instagram and my Facebook and everything. And I want to educate people on what they can do themselves. And that's probably half of the battle, is like making sure that you're watering appropriately or putting less mulch or more mulch or whatever it is. So there's just, I think it's that. It's the education. Like now that I'm thinking, like I'm standing in front of people's trees with them and talking to them about their trees and how they can manage them and how we manage them. And it's that education piece.
You mentioned you have a licensed certified arborist on your team. Are you seeing people making mistakes by planting a tree? Some trees don't do well here.
Sure.
And what are you encountering out there? And you know, I'm kind of seeking a little bit of advice. I'm a homeowner. I have trees too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what mistakes are we making the moment we plant a tree?
Proximity to structures. Invasive trees, when being invasive, like being like they weren't supposed to ever be grown in this area, and they end up kind of taking over the area. Like they weren't supposed to start spreading. Bradford pears, specific example. There are areas of the country, different states, that are paying people or giving people free trees if they remove their Bradford pears. They're dangerous trees. They break all the time. So like
with our ice and things like that, they're widowmakers.
Prone for breaking on no notice at all. Like, it doesn't even have to be windy. It just snap right off. Crepe myrtle is another example. They're on every corner of every house, but they're an invasive species into the area. They're not native. And then I see these smaller like townhomes that have live oaks that are planted 5 feet from the front of the house. Like that tree wants to spread out. It wants to grow high if you train it appropriately, but it also wants to spread out. It's going to get there. They need to get to 30 feet wide, 50 feet tall, but they're 5 feet from the structure, and these roots are going to affect the structure.
And those trees alone could take up a quarter acre if you give them the space to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just be careful about what you're planting, where you're planting. Know the size, know the species, know how much water they need. A lot of people are planting a lot of junipers and other types of evergreens that they're arid climate trees. And now we're putting them into flower beds that have drip irrigation that you're keeping them watered all day long, every day.
Yeah.
Well,
they're drowning.
That's why they're drowning. That's why they're getting phytophthora root rot and all these things. So you got to be careful with all that.
So Scott, earlier we talked about, your mission, the why you do what you do. Tell me about that. Do a deeper dive. What's the whole process and what do you do at the end of taking care of people?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that we're so appreciative of the people that do care about their trees, and they care about our people as well. Like we've had customers that have been so appreciative of the way that we have treated their property. And if you look at some of our Google reviews, some of them are saying they left the property cleaner than it was whenever we got here. And so getting those thank yous, getting those 5-star reviews, those little bits of gratitude from our customers means so much to us. But I think that fits with exactly one of our core values is like, we say thank you. And it's like, so our customers are saying thank you, but like the first thing we do is we say thank you to them. Like, thank you for putting your trust in us. Thank you for supporting us. We give these little thank you bags. So if you want to get a Joshua Tree fern, which is, something I plant myself, I go grab them, I put them in a pot, put them in a bag, say thank you, write a thank you note. And then we give that to them at the end of every single job. And so that's a simple way for us to just say thank you for putting your trust and supporting us. But it's not just that. They say thank you to our crew. I say thank you to our crew on a daily basis. Thank you for putting the hard work in. I say thank you to our client customer care team that are picking up the phones and answering phone calls for us. I say thank you to every single person that has ever referred any sort of business or any sort of partner that we work with that we can exchange leads or exchange opportunities. Without everybody to be a part of the business, we would not be anything. So thank you to anybody listening that cares about their trees. And thank you for everybody that's been a great customer of ours, because we wouldn't be anything without them.
What is the best way for people to reach out to you? How do you like to be reached by potential customers?
JoshuaTreeExperts.com. You got Facebook. We got Facebook.com/Collin County, which is our location. Just launched our Instagram page recently. Would love for us to get more followers on all of those, because I am going to continue to put more educational content out there on a daily basis. Just telling people how do you take care of your own stuff.
That's excellent. For people who, they love being outside like you, and they want to surround their home with that. What would you advise them just to start? Let's say I've just moved in. I know my HOA says, buddy, you got to plant a couple trees. Mm-hmm. Knowing Collin County and the area that you serve, what would you say? Start here.
Oh yeah. Again, it kind of depends on how much space you got.
Right. Let's say they've got a quarter acre and the house takes up a small part of that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, live oaks are going to be some of the strongest trees that you can have.
Away from the structure.
Away from the structure. 20 feet. I'm talking 20 feet. 15 minimum.
Yeah.
20 feet is more advisable. There are different types of live oaks now too. Like there's a cathedral live oak that is more tall. It is a live oak, but it's more structurally centered and doesn't go as wide. There's a lot of different elms that are kind of being crossbred, and different types of elms that you could look at there, which are great. You also need to make sure and be aware of the types of pests that some of these trees can get also. And unless you're willing to invest in pest management, you need to be careful with some of those as well. Like any oaks, I mean, like they're all great, and every tree is going to have their own issues.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's an oak or an elm or a cypress or whatever, they're gonna all have their own different types of pests, because different types of pests attract different types of trees, different diseases, all that. But manage soil health is one of the keys. Like if you're going to plant a tree, make sure the soil is healthy and it's not just this compacted just clay that we have here in North Texas that doesn't have any nutrients in it. So think about soil health, nutrition. If you're planting a brand new tree, make sure it's structurally pruned properly. You look at trees that were planted 30 years ago that could have been structurally pruned and are the right way, that could have gotten rid of all these risks that we see today.
Yeah.
And now, if we're going to manage some of those risks that we see, it's going to take us 10 years to try to remediate some of those risks. And so it'll just take a little bit of time, but it's better to get it early.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so what's your busiest season? Or is it just year-round challenges?
Yeah, it's just different challenges all year long.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's a best time to prune. There's different times to prune for different reasons. We love to prune in the fall and the winter because we can see the full structure of the tree without the leaves. I can now see where there might have been additional thickness, or the ways that the limbs are potentially growing in an awkward way that could provide risks of falling or breakage. So we love to prune whenever it's that way, but we can still prune in spring and summer. So it's not a best or either or. Your fertilization, pest control, all that stuff needs to happen throughout the entire year. It's just we're providing different products at different times of year based on what pests are moving, what the trees need at that point in time. Spring we're providing more nitrogen Yes. Spring, we're providing more nitrogen, and in fall, we're providing more potassium and phosphate. So it's like, there's not a busy time. Like, we are
steady.
We are steady. I
mean, trees are always growing. Yeah.
You get less calls in January.
Yeah.
Just because people don't realize that they should call us. But like, we're still working.
Yeah.
We're still at a full backlog through December and January.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned scouting a while back. You're outdoorsman type. I'd say, where is your favorite place to camp? Like what type of, like if you're going to go pitch a tent somewhere, where's that going to be?
On a lake.
Near a lake.
On a lake, and then even better if it's on the mouth of a river. So you got both options. You want to go out on the lake on the boat and have some quiet, fishing out there, or if you want to be on the river and do some trout fishing, it's even better.
And hear the sound of the water.
Be able to sleep right next to the river, and there's nothing better.
And you can't do that without trees. You certainly can't hang a hammock without a good tree.
That's very true.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Scott, thanks for coming on the show today and just sharing your passion for what you do, the important work that you do, because trees play a very valuable role in our lives. Not just beauty, but function, you know. So it's important to take care of them. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.